and welcome to another episode of Beyond This, the podcast that talks about everything from life, spirit, and all those things in between. If we haven't met before, my name is Matilda. I am a professional psychic medium and spiritual advisor based here in Australia. I've been doing my job for well over 20 years. I love it. I love that proof that I give during evidential mediumship readings. And today I am bringing you the topic of spiritual awakening and the pain that we can feel during spiritual awakenings. These can be spiritual and emotional awakenings. It can happen at any time of our life, but there's a couple of things that can really make us feel vulnerable and undone, and as if our nerves are on the outside of our body. So we're going to talk about that topic today. It's highly discussed during my readings, and a lot of questions will be answered during today's podcast episode. I'm going to also give you some new predictions. I'm going to talk about, and this is something that I've sort of deferred for a little bit, a lot of talk on social media about Trump's demise. And I want to make clear on what I've seen. Now, a lot of people will go, yeah, but you also saw he wasn't going to be president. He's not president. I don't know who's pulling. Well, I do know who's pulling his little strings and have got their hand up his backside. But I'm going to talk about what I have seen around him. For those of you that have been following along will know that I did discuss him and Ketamine Kenny, aka Musk, falling out. That's a nice one that's going on at the moment, and that it would show on social media. And that has been happening in the last couple of days. So I am this episode going to be concentrating on events, predictions, information that I have seen for the United States of America. That'll be later on in today's episode. I'm really trying hard to get a collection of videos and stuff that there are so many predictions that I have made that I haven't, because I make them on this podcast and I make a lot of predictions on my Patreon. And I do, the ones you see on social media are just like a tiny percent of what I say. And I am trying to find the time to put together a collage of some of the predictions that I've made that have had outcomes. You know, the prison break that's recently happened, Etna going up, that's happened, the earthquakes that happened in Greece, Severn Bridge being closed down. I made that in my 2025 predictions. You know, it was under strain. There was engineering problems with it. That's happened. I used to drive over the Severn Bridge so often. I used to have to go from Bristol to Hereford. Anyone that knows the area, I was at school in Bristol and I had to travel to Hereford quite often. But if you know the area, if you know, you know. So all that to come in today's episode. I want to give a very, very warm shout out to all of my Patreon members. If you don't know about Patreon, Patreon is the platform where I can speak freer, which is why there is so much more in-depth predictions. There's a lot more stuff going on there over the coming months. I've got some courses coming up that at the moment they're only on the Patreon. They are about listening to your spirit guides and your intuition. I've also got one about living the magnetic life to bring everything that you want towards you. So they are available on my Patreon with 50% discounts. I've also got some beautiful discounts for the end of the financial year. Yes, I'm in Australia. Our financial year runs from the 1st of July to the end of June. Great discounts on readings for anything booked in July. That's all on there for paid Patreon members. But the reason I'm going to give a warm shout out is you guys rock. Anyone that supports my Patreon page supports this podcast. It stops us having to have ads, sponsorship. I don't have to worry about it. It does cost money to produce a podcast. You guys make it possible for this to come out every week, week on, week out. I bring you a new topic. So that is a big thank you to you. also the community that we have built, the learnings that are going on. One of my chats is going to be turned into a spiritual awakening chat, or to more learnings about spirituality, and I'll go live on that a little bit. I'm often in the chats at least a couple of times a week. This week's not been the week for me. Every little thing that you can think of in someone's personal life has, I told you this year was fucking me without the lube. 2025 is not the year for me. So much going on that I haven't been able to get on there, but I will be back in the coming days. I hope. Never say never, but I've, the rest of my week is really about catching up. That's why this podcast is a day late, because I am only just getting to look at it at 4 p.m. on Wednesday. You usually have it out. You usually have it at 6 a.m. on Wednesday, my time. It's just been a little bit of drama. I won't bore you with any of the details, but needless to say, I have been running around like a headless chicken, and it's only Wednesday. Oh, yeah. And if you're a Patreon member, do not forget the coffee morning for 15 and up. My beautiful coffee morning. It's great. We usually have close to 100 people that join us for coffee over Zoom. We get to talk about spiritual questions, your current affair questions, things that you have thought that you would really love an answer to. I am there. I am yours for that coffee morning. And usually they run for well over an hour, sometimes 2 hours, but you get me to yourselves for that time, and that's your opportunity to ask those questions. So if you don't know about Patreon, check out the link in the show notes, but I really wanted to take this time to just thank the Patreon supporters for being just that, supporters, and you all deserve a shout out. We will get to our new members' Patreon shout outs in just a little while, but let's start and talk about spiritual awakenings and why they can make us feel so vulnerable and what we can do to help ourselves. Spiritual awakenings can happen at any time in our lives. They can happen in our 20s, 40s, 50s. I often find that people are drawn to have a reading with me, and they don't realize that this is what's going on in their life. They're suddenly waking up to the conformity that they have had, to the conditioning that they have had in their younger years. Their ego is being tested, because when we start to think another way, that egoic mind of, well, no, that's what you were taught from a child. That has to be true. That's what my mother, father, auntie, uncle told me. That must be true. And it becomes an emotional roller coaster where the slightest thing can trigger the feelings of overwhelm and an identity crisis. And we're going to go through some of those signs today. During awakening, deeply buried emotions begin to rise to the surface. This can feel like emotional whiplash. Crying without a reason, sudden bursts of anger, or unexpected grief without reason. These emotions aren't new. They're often old wounds or experiences that were never fully processed. Awakening forces you to feel, heal, and this flood of emotions can be confronting and exhausting. When we suddenly realize that conditioning that we have had as a child wasn't for us, it wasn't the way that everybody thinks, that there are other options, that there are other opinions. When we get to that point and we are being woken up, there will be times when we realize that maybe for 10, 20, 30 years we have been numb, because we became accustomed to not feeling the emotions that we were told not to feel, or we had buried. It can be past trauma. It can be just past conditioning, and we are distressed or upset because we were conditioned and we feel like we've missed out on something for such a long period of time. During awakening, we can also feel an identity crisis. A spiritual awakening often dismantles the version of yourself you've always known. You may begin questioning your career, your relationships, your goals, your purpose, and even your personality. The pain comes from realizing that who you thought you were was a constructed identity based on the conditioning and expectations or even survival. It can be really hard, as I say, when we suddenly wake up. And I hate that saying because people say, oh, the woke people. But when we wake up and we can actually identify all of the conditioning, identify all of the teaching, the bullying sometimes, and say, well, you didn't tell me the whole story. And we get this identity crisis of who we thought we were or who we were conditioned to be to who we actually want to be and what we want to see. Physical discomfort can also be a sign of, and a painful sign of, a spiritual awakening. Spiritual shifts often bring physical symptoms. This might look like headaches, back pain, digestive fatigue, or sleep disturbances. No, mine's just menopause. And these are sometimes called spiritual symptoms. Now, my thought pattern on that is the extra emotional strain that we are under. And as we release emotional pain, it can cause other symptoms. And when we are physically holding ourselves together, because we're almost under attack, so to speak, that can cause physical pain. When we finally release and drop our shoulders, we realize how out of alignment we've been. Relationship strain is one. As you grow spiritually, some relationships will fall away. Friends, partners, and family members may no longer resonate with your values and your frequency. If you're vibing at a higher frequency is always one of those 5D concepts. I think higher vibration is a nicer way to put it. This can feel isolating and painful, and I cannot tell you how many people I speak to that are in the midst of an awakening of sorts, who have found themselves feeling isolated, struggle to find people that vibe at the same level that they do. And I always say it's really important to actually choose an activity and action, something that you can do that will bring in more people that vibe at the same level as you. It is not uncommon to feel incredibly lonely and isolated during an awakening phase. And this is because people no longer interest us if they are living a shallow life. It's hard to explain, but I look at some of my old friends and realize how shallow they were. And that's no judgment on them. It's just that they were more concerned about the holiday they're having this year and who's doing what and who's, the gossip and who looks better and what people are wearing, etc., etc. And I don't give a fuck. I want you to do things that really feed your soul. If you're going to gossip about people, that's not for me. It's really not for me. Loss of interest, activities or routines that once brought you joy may suddenly feel meaningless. This can bring a deep sense of apathy or questioning. Apathy can make you feel like you're depressed. Sometimes we need a purpose and we need to find a purpose, and it needs to be something that is different. Whatever that is, that purpose must make you feel more fulfilled than you did. Sometimes we can even have mental confusion where our thoughts feel scattered or filled with doubt. You might ask questions like, what's the point? Or am I going crazy? You are not going crazy. When we almost have the rug pulled out from under us because the life that we built, that we thought we wanted, that was conditioned for us to build, we didn't know the choices were out there. Ego resistance is a big one. The ego thrives with safety and familiarity often resists spiritual growth. This can manifest as fear, procrastination, skepticism, or self-sabotage. You must be careful of this, because when we are living in our ego, we want comfort and we also want control. And we don't realize how our reaction to things is ego-based. And I've done a few podcast episodes on that. Let me know if you'd like another podcast episode that dives deeper into reactions and egoic reactions, etc. Existential despair, that's one. It's almost like a dark night of the soul, a period where life feels pointless or devoid of meaning. This is a spiritual depression where the structures you relied on collapse, and structures can be that conditioning. It can be, you know what, I'm having a question about my faith, or I'm having a question about the people I believed in. I'm having a question about who I was and who I am. All of that is very, very valid. There's also a heightened sensitivity. You have become more sensitive to environments, people, media, or food. This sensitivity is your system becoming more attuned. Oh, start putting things in steps. Like for me, if I have to go to a shopping center or a large environment that's busy, I have to wear earpods, or I've just bought myself a pair of loop earplugs, and they are helping somewhat. Detoxing and purging. Spiritual awakening can trigger physical, emotional, and energetic detoxing. You may cry unexpectedly, have vivid dreams, and feel compelled to purge belongings. That is very, very common when I speak to people, that they feel like they're crying at the drop of a hat. All of this is giving you the opportunity to address your past traumas. We're going to cry. When I went through my awakening was around the start of the time that I decided to do mediumship, as I knew I was a medium doesn't necessarily mean I was awake. This is why I say that you really must train and look after yourself when you are deciding to work as a medium, if you have that ability. Because my goodness, around the time I decided to do this on a permanent basis and actually offer paid readings some 20 odd years ago, I cried every 2 minutes. And there was no reason for it. Spiritual disorientation is even those committed to their spiritual path can feel disconnected from intuition and spirit guides. This spiritual fog can be confusing, and that is a real thing. That's why a lot of people will say, why do I feel this way? How do I get that? They want to get more connected to their spirit guides, but there feels like there's a fog in between and they can't focus long enough to get that connection. They can't focus long enough to meditate. There's all of this antsy stuff. All of that goes on, and it is quite painful for a lot of people. Next, we're going to talk about how to overcome the pain of spiritual awakening. But first of all, I'm going to give a shout out to the newest Patreon members. As you know, all my paid Patreon members support this podcast, as well as many other things. I'm going to say a massive shout out. Every time you join, I should have said that at the start. When you join Patreon, you get a shout out on the podcast. So, Honey Badger, Brooke McQuillan, Karen O'Connor, Justine, Nancy, Sassafrasera, Sarah. I think I got that right. I'm so sorry, Sarah. And Jackie, thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys rock. You are the people that make this possible and make it possible for me to bring weekly podcasts. Plus, our community pretty rocks. It's amazing to be part of that community and watch it grow. So, what can you do to help yourself and manage yourself during your spiritual or emotional awakening? That spiritual growth that you're going through, it can be an incredibly trying and tiring. Oh my goodness, I haven't even had a drink. Trying and tiring time. Surrender. Don't resist it. Let go of the need of control for the process. Trust that what's falling away is no longer serving you. Sometimes we are steered in the direction that we need to be in. Trust that those and things that you are doing or used to do no longer serve you. Feel everything fully. Now, this is sometimes the biggest thing that people feel really hard, and it causes the most pain. When past experiences, past things that can bring up anger, upset, realization happen, we try and suppress them like we have in the past. We try and suppress them like we were taught to do in the past. Don't suppress your emotions. Allow emotions to move through you without judging yourself and without judgment. Grounding yourself daily is also a practice that I really recommend. Connect to your body and to the earth through mindful practices. When you start feeling overwhelmed, it really does help you. You can find various grounding methods on my Patreon, and I have talked about them on podcast before. But really bringing yourself into center, feeling your feet, working your way up, making sure that you are connected to yourself rather than allowing yourself to be disconnected. Practice deep rest. Honor your body's need by sleeping more and slowing down. It's okay to slow down. It's okay to rest. Limit your stimulation. Reduce exposure to things like social media, news, or chaotic environments. During this process, it can be hard to be in chaotic environments. Seek soul-aligned support. Connect with others who understand spiritual growth. So important, because many people in your life will think you're cuckoo. And those that have gone through or are going through a similar growth period can really help you. Express what's moving through you. This can be through journaling, movement, just to process that internal shift. Let go of the old version of you and allow your identity. My goodness, what am I doing today? Allow your identity to move through you. It's going to change. Allow that to be what it is. Clarity will come. Your identity and who you are is evolving. Trust the bigger picture. Pain is not a punishment. It's a soul's invitation into freedom. Breathe through the hard movements. Conscious breath work can calm your nervous system. Now, conscious breath work is an amazing tool. I'm actually doing a course to train conscious breath work in June, and that'll be really interesting. Stay present. Not perfect. Nobody's perfect. And if you have an expectation to be perfect, you are stopping your progress. Know where you are, and don't set a time limit. For all of you going through a spiritual, emotional growth period, we are all with you. We are chevying you along. This awakening that is happening now is international. People are seeing the old systems crumble away, the old conditioning, especially in the United States, when people have become conditioned to expect so little. They are wakening up and they are using their voice. Be a part of that. We're going to talk about some of the US things coming right up. Okay, there is much interest in what is happening in the United States at the moment, and a lot of speculation around Donald Trump's demise. I know that many psychic mediums are saying that he will die before his birthday, which I believe is on or around the 14th of June. So we're about 10 days out from him dying, according to many people on social media. I have always said, just because another psychic medium says something and I don't see it, it doesn't mean to say that it can't happen. I am just stating that that is not what my guides have shown me. I always said there is a number 8 connected to his not being president anymore or not being able to be president anymore, and that health would be the cause of that. Last year, even before the election debacle, I said that I didn't see him popping his clogs until 2026 at some point. Now, as a psychic medium, it is never my place to predict someone's demise by name, nor am I ever shown it. Does that make me a shite psychic medium? I don't think so. It just means that there's only so much that guides are going to give you, and we have to put the pieces of a puzzle together. So I'm not going to dispute what other psychic mediums are saying. I am just going to reiterate what I have been shown and what I was predicting regarding his ill health and other stuff that I have been given regarding the United States political system, shall we say. Closer, like now and this year. Last year, I will repeat the prediction that I made that he would have an episode that his kidneys are under strain. Now, look at him. Sometimes he's puffy, sometimes he's gaunt. To me, that does mean his kidneys are under strain. I also think that he is going to have a stroke or cardiac episode in the coming couple of months. That will mean that he will be drooling in a cup, as Laurie Rivers says. My take on it would be that he would be confined to a chair and almost rocking in the corner. That's what I have been shown. I can't take away from that. I can't add to it. I can't say he's going to drop dead on July 12th, 1985 or 2005, whatever. I can't, because that's not what I'm being given. And I've always been honest and kept to what my guides give me. It's not my intuition. It's not my gut feeling. It is what I am being given during channeling and from my guides. Okay. When he took office in January, I made a statement that I felt there was a number 8 around him not being president. Whether that's August, I don't know. Whether it's the 8th of the month, I don't know. I do not believe it is 2028. What I will tell you, in addition to the prediction that I said that Ketamine Kenny, aka Trump, would not be in the government come May, it's pretty much played out. Okay? The social media banter arguments that are going between them, that has pretty much played out. People say that when Trump has gone, all the problems are going to be gone. It is not so. All right? I will stand by the fact that he did not win that presidency under fair means. I know people will come at me. People will continue to argue with me, but there is no possible way. There is no way in history. There is no statistical way that he won. All the swing states. That's never happened before. My original predictions around the election were that it would be highly litigious, that he would declare victory at an early stage. I always made the statement that he would not be president. And then when Kamala was doing so well, I let ego step in and say Kamala would win. But that was because I was shown that he would not be president. Not that I was ever shown Kamala winning. Do I think that the Democrats are suddenly going to declare victory and you're going to get a new president? No. The only thing that I have shown that is a slight possibility is that when things come out, there would be a new election. It wouldn't be that, here you go, Kamala, here's the key to the White House. Again, I could be wrong. I am just giving you what I have been given. Okay? When Trump is no longer able to perform his tasks, it will be JD Vance. Likely. Okay? I do feel that he is having a crisis of conscience at the moment, has always had a crisis of conscience, and he isn't necessarily going to stay in the United States. I have been shown him bolting, whether that is after this administration is finished or because of actions that he chooses in the coming months. I feel like, I have been shown JD Vance bolting the country, whether that's to go to India, Dubai, or Saudi Arabia. Do I believe that it's going to be smooth sailing, as in Trump falls over, JD Vance steps in. No, there is a lot of twists and turns, and sometimes things are hidden. The energy for the last 6 months, trying to get predictions, trying to dive into around the election was always massively murky. I made statements that it was murky. I, in fact, made a statement that I didn't believe there would be an election, and I don't believe there was. There you go. I've said it. But there is no magic wand. There is going to be a lot of problems. There is going to be a lot of surprises. August feels very, very relevant. Regarding the whistleblowers that I have seen coming out during July are going to really open a lot of things wide open. I'm also going to make a statement, and I don't know how this is going to play out. All right. I don't know the timing of this. I don't know how it plays out with Trump being incapacitated, which is what I've been shown. But when it comes time for Trump to no longer be in the Oval Office, he will need assistance to be removed from the Oval Office. And that, I believe, will be very humiliating for him. All I can say is that the changes that will happen after the midterms next year will be significant in a way that the country has never seen before. So if you're worried, start local, because that's where the change needs to happen. And I believe it is starting to happen quite a lot. Over the next 2 months, globally, we are going to see an increase of earthquakes, an increase of volcanic action. There is going to be an issue where conflict between Israel and Iran starts kicking off. India and Pakistan start kicking off, and things in Europe will start kicking off. I'm also concerned about China and Taiwan. It will feel very dicey, as if we are on the verge of something globally. What I am being shown is, and I have said this from last year, that weather and the increase of weather, flooding, the earthquakes, the volcanoes, the increased heat in some places, the increased flooding in some places, the aggressive seas, the mudsliding that is going to be happening globally. And before anyone asks me, no place is going to be immune. Timing on these locations is going to be difficult, but that is what is going to stop a lot of conflicts. It is not pleasant, and the weather is going to increase. By the end of 2025, there will be no ability to say that global warming does not exist. Now, I've probably lost half my audience by being as blunt as that, but I do want people to understand that the preparation that I've talked about, just to have a little bit aside, to make sure that you have flashlights, torches, candles, extra cash. Water is going to be a problem, and fights over water is going to be a problem. Just make sure you're a little bit prepared. If you don't need it, then you can donate it. But honestly, every household across the globe should have an emergency kit these days. You don't have to go mad. You don't have to start building yourself a bunker, but at least have a little bit of, if I need it, it's there. All right. That being said, I also want to add that I am not convinced that Trump is going to make it to the G7, and that ties in with his birthday. So take that as you will. Have a great week, everyone. As always, it has been a pleasure, and I will see you next week. If you are a Patreon member, I am going to be putting up a questionnaire about what topics you would like to see covered on the podcast. Lots of love. Take care.